We are going to talk about different ribs today. The back rib is one of my favorites. It is my favorite rib. There's a lot more meat up on top, if you see that. So it doesn't have as much as a St. Louis or a spare in between. It has more on top. Gives it great flavor. They are a lot leaner than a spare. It comes from the top. So this rib would come down the top of the spine, and that would be your back rib. It has great flavor. These are pretty popular in restaurants. They're a little bit more spendier than the St. Louis style or the spare. The rib is gonna have about 13 bones on it usually. And if we count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The actual animal has about 15 or 16 bones. So there are some that are trimmed off up by the shoulder. So these are called back ribs. And to really be truly a baby back, it has to be a little bit smaller, tapering, a 1 3/4 pound or less, like 1 1/2 to 1 3/4, and that would be considered your baby back. It has to be a little bit smaller, tapered down. It's going to be lighter, so that's going to be more of a baby back, St. Louis style. So this is more squared off. It's going to be a larger rib. The average rack size will be 2 1/2 to 3 1/2 pounds on an average. Once you start getting too big of ribs, just like the back ribs, when we start hearing, I've got a 3 and up rib, and they think it's fabulous, and you'll see the price is a lot cheaper. There's a lot less meat ratio to bone, so you're gonna get more bone on a larger rib. St. Louis is gonna have more meat in between the bones and less on top. This will have more connective tissue to it. So it's gonna be a little bit tougher, so we cook it a little bit longer than the back rib. The back rib is gonna be a little bit more tender. Spare ribs, this is the old-fashioned spare rib. Great flavor. The St. Louis rib comes from the spare rib. So we'll remove all of this up here, all of this, and we'll cut it back here. So what do we do with that? We get rib tips. So we have little tips of ribs, a wonderful appetizer, a lot less expensive, but that's what we're gonna get out of it. If you don't have an outlet for the waste, making riblets or cooking out the meat, it's not worth your time. There's another category, riblets, rib tips. They're cut differently, and the tips are coming from your spare, where these will come cross cut off of your rib. Always, always remove the membrane. So if you see in the back of all your ribs, if it hasn't come with them taken off already, and some companies will offer it, but you want to get something to pull up that skin somewhere. So I put my fork up there just to pull the skin up, get rid of my fork, and I got my fingers under there. So I'm gonna pull all the way across if I can. And if you take a look, we got it there. And we are just gonna come down and pull it off. How important is this to take off? I think it's very important because it's tougher to chew through. Country style ribs. We see them in the store, we sell them here. There's a place for them. Guess what, folks? They're not a rib. That can be considered a chop or a rib chop, whatever you want to call it, but technically it's not really a rib. And these have a great for inexpensive options. Boneless ribs can be cut from the same area. A lot of people use the sirloin, or they'll use the loin and cut ribs and call them boneless country style ribs. They have a good application, they're inexpensive, and since they have a good taste profile like a rib, that's where we get by with calling them a country rib. Put them in the oven, season them, a little bit of moisture or water, and cook them. You can braise them, you can grill them, whichever way you wish. So with these ribs here, they're all gonna be cooked about the same. Biggest thing is low and slow. So we do 225 to 275 max. If you are smoking ribs, do not over smoke it. Get your good smoking going for the first hour, hour and a half is how I do it. Wrap it in foil, finish it that way. In your foil, you know, while you're smoking ribs, you should always spritz it with apple juice, apple cider, anything like that you want the flavor to penetrate. But after that, put a little apple juice in the bottom of the tin foil, fold it all in and finish it up. Again, continue at slow and low. How we're gonna prep these for the oven is rub your rib with either olive oil right before you put your seasoning on, and rub it. It's a rub. Make it heavy enough so the flavor penetrates both sides. Rub it in, let it sit for anywhere from 1 to 4 hours. So when you feel your rib before you cook them, you're gonna touch them and they're gonna be tacky feeling, sticky. And that's making the moisture of the oil and the seasoning of the rub work together or marinate in a little bit. Falling off the bone means that you overcooked your ribs. The bone should be removed from the rack or slab, whatever you want to call it, cleanly, not falling off. So if you open up the pan and the bones are sitting at the bottom and you see that rib, tell you what, save yourself a ton of money, ton of time, and use a pork butt and just roast that, because that's what you're getting. Fully cooked ribs are wonderful of a couple reasons. They're consistent, and these are back ribs, and these are our St. Louis, 2 different styles. They're done, they're ready. Anybody can heat these. You could heat these on a grill. We'll turn on your grill, toss them on, get a little heat, barbecue them, sauce them, put them out on the plate. Beautiful tips. These make great appetizers. Drop a pound of them in a fryer, toss them in some barbecue or any other sauce you wish. So we do have a place for fully cooked products, and they've come a long way. So I can pull these out. These come in individually wrapped, 1 in a pack. So let's say, it's Monday. It's not gonna be busy. Let's pull 3 racks out, throw them in your cooler, slack them out. You get them all thawed, ready to rock and roll. You got 3 portions. They're not open yet, so they're gonna stay in that package for another 5 days at least, so you're safe. So let's say you serve all of those that day, pull out 3 more or 4 more, whatever you're projecting to use that next day, and just continue on. 0 waste. Another opportunity for ribs.